Okay, so we are going live. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is DOW2002 CPD Webinar series. A very warm welcome to all of you. As you know, the rules of this webinars are that these and then uploaded on our YouTube channel later on. Today, we have got two excellent speakers, very different talks. Yes, the first one is about cutting things without scalpel, and the second one is to cut things with a scalpel, such as cakes, etc. So the first talk is from our very own Kashif Shazli, who is an interventional radiologist at Indus Hospital in Pakistan. And he's also the chair of imaging services at Indus Hospital. So Kashif is going to give us a talk on cutting edge horizons without scalpel.
Thank you. Am I audible for everyone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there is no disclaimer, no conflict of interest, and the presentation is totally free of any bias, any commercial or other biases. It's very simple, very straightforward, and in a few initial slides, I will show you how I proceeded with the interventional radiology in my career and how I adopted this skill and what are the indications for intervention radiology and few my personal cases in the end. So this is very simple, straightforward. Probably आप सबको समझ में आ जाएगा. Nothing hi-fi. So this was the start of my career. As you all know, I got 2 supplies in final due to certain reasons. Everybody knows. So I was 3 months late to my batch in house job, and I started 3 months later in the month of, I think, March 2003. Started my house job in medical 2, surgical 2, and lastly in ophthalmology. So in 2004, I passed my FCPS 1 in radiology and completed my training in Ziauddin University Hospital, North Nazimabad, and passed MCPS, Membership of College of Physician and Surgeon, in 2008. And in the same year, I passed FCPS in radiology in 2008 from CPSP, Pakistan. Then I joined Ziauddin Hospital as assistant professor and head of the department in 2009. So after that, I went for a fellowship in interventional radiology from Shaukat Khanam Memorial Research Hospital, Lahore, from 2010 to 2011, and then returned back to Lahore, returned back from Lahore to Karachi, and again joined Ziauddin University Hospital in 2011 as assistant professor and head of the department again. Then I passed European Board of Radiology in 2013 and fellowship of Royal College of Radiology in 2014 from UK, London. And I was promoted as associate professor in 2015 and director radiological services in 2015 in the same institute, Ziauddin University Institute. In 2016, I went for a fellowship of PET-CT in University of Zurich. I spent a couple of weeks there, and it is a very prototype PET-CT center. So got a lot of experience there. I am currently examiner and supervisor for radiology at CPSP, approved supervisor for post-fellowship in body imaging. Now I'm currently chairman imaging services at Indus Hospital Networks. It's actually a network of at least 12 hospitals where radiology setups are there. I have till now published 12 research articles, original research articles, and there are many cases, case reports, etc. these are my, on the right side, my commitments and engagements. I'm a lifetime member of RSP, and currently I am counselor of RSP Singh chapter. There are 2 chapters. The first one is and Balochistan, and the other one is Punjab and KPK, and I am counselor of Sindh. I am lifetime member and treasurer of Interventional Radiology Society of Pakistan, life member of Pakistan Medical Association, Pakistan Islamic Medical Association, and Asia Pacific Society of Vascular Intervention Radiology, European Society of Radiology. I am also board member of I'm member of board of studies at DOW University of Health Sciences, and it's a pleasure and honor for me. I'm peer reviewer in multiple scientific journals, as you all. So here was my a short intro, and now come to the real topic. What is IR? As you all know, interventional radiology is actually minimal access with maximum results. We all know that interventional radiology use some catheters and guide wires to treat the different pathologies within the body. So the idea is minimum access and maximum results without a scalpel. So interventional radiology is a pinhole surgery, basically performed with the aid of X-rays, CT scan, ultrasound, and most of the time the incision is less than 5 millimeter. And 9 out of 10 use only anesthesia with some sedation. And recovery time is very fast. 8 out of patients go home on the same day, and it's often a less invasive option than traditional surgical process. So we treat different conditions like aortic aneurysms, internal bleeders, blocked bile ducts, fibroids, blocked kidneys, dialysis, lines, varicose veins, leg arteries, cancer treatment, clotted arteries, clotted veins, malformation, etc. So these are just a few conditions which I mentioned actually. So the scope is very vast of interventional radiology, and the majority of the cases belong to these 4 categories: blood vessel, artery or vein, or microvessels, cancer treatment, intervention related intervention radiology, bleeding control, whether from uterus or whether from artery or any vein, and many other treatment options like in kidneys we do PCN, in fibroids we do embolization, for collapsed vertebra we do kyphoplasties, for dialysis we place permacap, for liver and biliary ducts we perform PTC, as you all know, PTC and external drainage, and followed by stenting. So I think there are at least 50 or more procedures in radiology we do. So this is my actual list, my actual screenshot of my actual procedure list, which I offer at Indus Hospital and formerly Jauddin University Hospital. And you can see the cerebral angiogram, head and neck tumor embolization, abdominal angiography, bleeding in lower GI or embolization, testicular venous embolization, pelvic venous embolization, uterine artery embolization for postpartum bleed, uterine fibroid embolization, bronchial artery embolization, transarterial embolization, IVC filter placement, Neurovascular aortic hips procedure, fistulagram, AV fistulography, permacap incision, different lines, angiographies of upper and lower limbs, varicose vein ablation, peripheral angiographies, and plasties, especially for critical limb ischemia and peripheral arterial disease, transjugular biopsy, hepatic wedge, pressure and assessment, foreign body retrieval, and all of these, most of these procedures are daycare procedures, and some require admission, definitely admission. And the hospital stay in intervention radiology procedures is very minimal as compared to conventional surgical procedures. These are non-vascular procedures which I offer or intervention radiology do offer in their setups, like PCN, gastrostomy, stents, PN drainage, stenting, radiofrequency ablation of liver and kidney, alcohol ablation for hepatocellular carcinoma, microwave ablation for hepatoma, different types of biopsies, whether under ultrasound or under CT scan, radiofrequency ablation for bone tumor, especially for osteoid osteoma, different types of drainage catheter insertion like pigtail, Pierce procedure for hydrated cyst, different types of percutaneous aspirations like liver abscess drainage, etc. And I do offer imaging guided injections as well, like hydrodilation of the frozen shoulder, tendinous injections, etc. Percutaneous cholecystostomies and foreign body retrieval. These are actually my real procedures which we do in our setup, whether when I was in Saudi or right now in Indus. So there are a few cases from my own collection, which I do in the past 5 or 6 years. This was a case, as you all can see here, a blocked artery. This is the blocked artery. You can see the external iliac artery is totally blocked till the common femoral artery. We did a balloon plasty first, and then we placed stent. So the blood supply was total, and the patient went home very happy. So this patient is on follow-up, and this was this procedure I did 2 years back. So he's fine. So radiofrequency ablation is very famous for hepatocellular carcinoma, and this was a case of small hepatocellular carcinoma, less than 3 centimeter. And in these cases, whenever the size of the lesion is less than 3 centimeter, we offer whether for ablation or radiofrequency ablation. And we did radiofrequency ablation. This umbrella-like needle you can see here under CT guidance, and the patient got cured. There was a case of the hepatocellular carcinoma, and the lesion was very clear on ultrasound images, and this needle is actually representing microwave ablation needle, and we did microwave ablation. So actually ablation therapies are of 3 types: the cryoablation, the microwave ablation, and the radiofrequency ablation. In Pakistan, we have right now the radiofrequency ablation device and the microwave ablation device. We don't have cryoablation that actually cools the tissue up to 60 degrees centigrade, and the clotted and necrosed. So this was a case of GI bleeding, and you can see the multiple coils. You can see here multiple coils placed in. So these are very frequent cases we usually see in our set. Especially some of these are post-traumatic and some of these are post-infectious. So we do microcoil embolization or particulate embolization in these cases. This is very famous and very common scenario in Pakistan. You can see here a CT scan showing a cavitary lesion in the right lung upper lobe. That is actually fibrosis secondary to tuberculosis. And on angiogram, you can see multiple tortuous abnormal vessels. And these vessels are actually the cause of continued hemoptysis. And whenever the hemoptysis goes up to 500 ml per day, we offer embolization. That is called bronchial artery embolization. And we did this case. There are multiple coils you can see. Usually we do embolization with particles, but sometime if we could not negotiate the bronchial artery, we can also do coil embolization. So this was the case where we did the coil embolization, and the patient got well after embolization. This is osteocytoma. You can see here a dot-like lesion with cortical thickness, and this is classical osteoid osteoma. And we did radiofrequency ablation while placing our needle directly targeted into the nidus of this lesion here and ablate this tumor. Nowadays, the gold standard treatment for osteoid osteoma is radiofrequency ablation. Sometimes we also offer microwave ablation. Both procedures have good curative rates, but I personally prefer the radiofrequency ablation. We have a very established clinic for vascular anomalies called Vascular Anomaly Clinic, and you all know that in Pakistan, due to foreign influx and Afghani patients, there are a lot of patients with vascular anomalies like venous malformation, arteriovenous malformation, lymphatic malformation, venolymphatic malformation, and a lot of other things. So we do offer sclerotherapies and embolization, and it is one of the leading vascular anomaly clinic. The other clinic is in Lahore in the Children Hospital, and still we have a very good number and large clinic at Indus Hospital. And I personally do all these procedures, and the patient, there are a lot of patients registered in this clinic. Uterine artery embolization is very famous, and you all know it's usually performed for post-procedural bleed or postpartum bleed. And till now, we have done almost 70 patients who had postpartum bleed or post-DNC or DNE bleed, and alhamdulillah, all the patients survived, and we published our data from Ziauddin University, and this is very life-saving procedure, in fact. She came to us from very low socioeconomic background, and she fell in her home and got carotid cavernous fistula. You can see the appearance of the eye on the day of the procedure, and you can see here the internal carotid artery, and we embolized this internal carotid artery. And after 15 days follow-up, I got well, and there was remnant residual corneal bleed. Alhamdulillah, patient was fine till the last month. So carotid cavernous fistula is a very difficult to treat lesion, and it cost a lot actually. So we did in free of cost at Indus Hospital. Post PCNL bleeder is very common in our setup, and whenever retrieval of a stone is tried, most of the time, sometime there are chances that the track may get some aneurysm or bleeder. So this was a case of post PCNL pseudoaneurysm. You can see here a large pseudoaneurysm, a large supplying artery with large draining vein. So we did coil embolization here, and at the end of the procedure, pseudoaneurysm gone. Similarly, we have a very high burden of critical limb ischemia and peripheral arterial disease due to lot of patients, diabetic patient, and increasing number of hypertensive patients. And on daily basis in last 15 days, I did daily one case of peripheral arterial disease or critical limb ischemia. So these are very difficult to treat lesions, especially when the arteries are tough and when the arteries are very atherosclerosed. These are very difficult to treat, and they're very difficult to treat with guide and wire and catheters. But alhamdulillah, our success rate is quite high, and we usually perform balloon plasties below the knee, and if required, stenting above the knee area. I showed some cases before. In the external iliac, we place a stent. So these are some, this peripheral arterial disease, if not treated, usually patient get amputated. And unfortunately,
we have 2 minutes.
okay, unfortunately, our patients can't afford such highly high cost procedures, but alhamdulillah, at Indus Hospital, we can offer them these peripheral plasties and stentings. PTC and stenting, again, a very well-known procedure. Whenever ERCP failed, patients are referred to us for PTC and drainage. And here you can see a tight stricture, and still there was a previously inserted plastic stent, and that got actually obstructed. So we placed a metallic stent after PTC, and the patient jaundice gone after 3 to 4 days. Aortic aneurysm is one of the major disease, but the prevalence is very much less as compared to West. And nowadays we offer endovascular aortic repair. In Ziauddin, we did 2 cases of endovascular aneurysmal repair, but at Indus still we are waiting for some patient, and inshallah we will try to treat these aneurysm at Indus Hospital. Thank you very much. These are some cases from my own collection which I performed, and this is a short introduction of interventional radiology. But मैं ये भी बताना चाहूँगा कि अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह पाकिस्तान में एक्सपर्टीज लोगों के पास हैं, लोग काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत सारे लोग अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, खराब भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन बहुत ज़रूरत है हमें कोऑर्डिनेशन की, नेटवर्किंग की, एक दूसरे के साथ मिलकर काम करने और आगे बढ़ने की। और मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप सब लोग भी जब भी कभी किसी को ज़रूरत हो, मोर देन वेलकम। कभी कोई पेशेंट आपका हो, प्रॉब्लम में हो, यू कैन कॉन्टेक्ट मी। ग्रुप में मैं ऐड हूँ। अभी सरोज के चचा बेचारे बड़े पैसे खर्च कर चुके हुए थे, वो आए थे लास्ट वीक, हमने उनकी एंजियोग्राफी एंजियोप्लास्टी की, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ही इज़ वेरी फाइन, और उनकी एम्पुटेशन बच गई। तो इस तरह अगर आप लोगों को भी कभी किसी जानने वाले के लिए, रिश्तेदार के लिए ज़रूरत हो, तो आप मुझे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, डायरेक्टली कांटेक्ट करें, रिकॉर्ड भेजें, इंशाल्लाह वी विल ट्राई आवर बेस्ट टू ट्रीट देम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Naseem, we can't hear you, Naseem. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Sorry, hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kashif. Thank you.
Yeah, I was saying thank you very much, Kashif. Excellent presentation. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, well done for all the achievements. You have accomplished a lot. Very good talk. I just had one question because, you know, I'm a stroke physician. What's the situation with regards to the interventional neuroradiology and the MCA occlusion cases? Are we managing to offer them in Karachi like 6 to 8 hours, or is that not happening at the moment?
Okay, it's actually not happening at all in at anywhere in Pakistan. Indus Hospital is planning to establish a center very soon. Whenever we will get our inventory and resources, and आप सबको पता है कि वहाँ पे जगह का बड़ा मसला है हमारे पास। एक बड़ा हॉस्पिटल बन रहा है 1500 बेड का, तो उसके अंदर इंशाल्लाह स्ट्रोक सेंटर प्लान कर रहे हैं। अभी हमारी परसों भी मीटिंग हुई है उसके लिए, लेकिन कॉइलिंग एंड एरिथमियल कॉइलिंग, क्लॉट रिट्रीवल, ये इट इज पॉसिबल इन आगा खान हॉस्पिटल एंड द लाहौर जनरल हॉस्पिटल लाहौर। So these 2 centers are offering coiling and clot retrieval, but dedicated stroke center अभी नहीं है पाकिस्तान में फिलहाल। कुछ लोग क्लेम कर रहे हैं लेकिन वो डेडिकेटेड नहीं है, करते हैं एक आध केस लेकिन है नहीं।
Okay, got it. I think we have time for one more question and then we'll take Farheen. Any questions? I think Sadaf has a question. Yes, Sadaf, go ahead.
Just a quick question, Kashif. It is very impressive जो आप लोग काम कर रहे हैं वहाँ पे with interventional radiology. लेकिन as you know, most of the patients, you know, who are bleeding, they come as an emergency. So what is the service provision in terms of out of hours and on weekends?
It's always covered. There are many intervention radiology in many departments. So like at Ziauddin, patient can come at any time. In Liaquat National or Aga Khan, there are IR, intervention radiologists who are on call, and they entertain the patient.
And what is the state at Indus?
Right now, we offer 9 to 5 services for IR. Those patients who require emergency IR service in night and they are admitted, we do offer them IR services.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Excellent, Kashif. Thank you very much. So our next speaker is Farheen, and welcome to Farheen again. And I shared with all of you in the flyer as well, Albert Einstein, creativity is intelligence, having fun. And we all have hobbies. We all have things that, we are passionate about. And I think it's good to have these because we're very busy and medicine keeps us very busy. So I think to de-stress ourselves, it's good to have, get involved in these various activities. But some people, take things to a whole new level and make it, more than a hobby and kind of so I will hand over to Farheen to give us a talk on baking and various other stuff.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And thank you especially Naseem and Mansoor for giving me this opportunity to talk on my baking passion. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes,
Nice.
yes. Yeah, we're able to hear you. Yeah.
And relevant to be presented on a medic forum, but I am here to prove it wrong, actually, and I'll explain shortly why. Most, if not all of you, know that I was trained as an ophthalmologist in Pakistan, and this was about 7 years ago when I moved to UK that I started to take baking as not just as a hobby, but gradually and steadily moved on to higher horizons. And it has been fairly recent that then ophthalmology, I'm making waves on another front, which is baking, and that does come as a surprise to many of you. And to be honest, I have gained more popularity and definitely more friendship requests after my baking got more popular on the social media. And when I moved here, it was little did I know that what life had in store for me. And initially with the busy routine, especially in UK life here, it was difficult for me to, it was like a juggle between clearing my exams, not clearing them at times. But one thing that consistently kept thriving was my skill in baking. And initially it just started with baking for school, for charities, for family, and then friends and friends of friends, and how it gradually grew up. So in 2019, that was just last year actually, I set up my CakeWe logo and an Instagram page, and then thereafter linked it to Facebook. So that's how things got more known. What led to the transition, as I always believe, you're never too old to reinvent yourself, and that's true. Probably it was the artist within me that shone through through my baking, because baking for me is more like therapeutic. Through those transition time when I was struggling with the exams and managing the busy routine here, I think baking is something that really kept going. It was a form of self-expression for me. It was my creative outlet. It was my happy place to be, you could say, because it not only spread joy for myself, but also for people around me. And like how Saki was just saying that he and Khadija can come over, that actually is true, because generally when I'm baking, it gives a reason to unite people and to have those social gatherings taken to a different level. So whenever there is an occasion, baking somehow always unites people. As for confidence building, I would give 100 marks to baking for that, because as soon as when I've posted one of my cakes, it just, the likes that I receive, it's very confidence boosting. And it's like, if I talk about baking language, it would be like icing on cake. And when I read the compliments, that's like the cherry on top. And definitely it gives a great sense of accomplishment as well, because when I see my 2D sketches transformed into 3D masterpieces, it is just a great feeling of accomplishment. And believe it or not, they are perfect gifts, because whenever I have done something homemade and I've taken it to people, it just brings a genuine smile on their face, and they like it better. So, and then not to forget the ultimate goal that it gives you spiritual happiness through baking for charity. And when Mansoor asked me to do this presentation, I thought of this fun eyes and icing, and I was thinking to myself if there is actually any connection. And there is actually, because people often compliment me that I'm a born artist, but I don't see that it is just coincidental that baking comes naturally to me. I think those 5 years of being trained as a surgical resident did have some effects of polishing my ultimate creative skills in the cake world. And so if people are still doubting that, let me take you through my baking profile. Baking to me is like surgery, and by the way, this is not my cake, but I just like the idea of a surgeon being dressed up on a cake. When it comes to instruments, as Zubair often tells me, a surgeon can be as good as his tools, and this is so critical, because when you are choosing tools for either surgery or when you do baking, investing in the right and quality equipment is just as important if you want to make sure that you get good results. And with the amount of variety that is available, I sometimes go shopping mad with, getting all those things for myself to make the baking standards even higher. And the choices certainly has exceeded the variety that is available in surgical instruments, to be very honest. Another thing is planning, because I still remember as a surgical resident, I used to draw out diagrams of eyes, and that used to give me just a platform to see, okay, where do I stand? Where do I have to go from here? So planning in terms of sketching out your plan to getting that planning sorted in cake designs, it's something very similar. And I often, whenever I get an order, I do want to sketch it down with all the color details and what figurines I want on top, whether it's a floral cake or otherwise. So planning definitely helps to have that confidence to go with my design. When it comes to execution, definitely you do require those meticulous hands-on skills, and stable hands, by the way, are a blessing, and they're absolutely mandatory in both surgery and cake decorating. And you've got to have your hand-eye coordination right to gain that extra finesse, if you understand what I mean. And as I say, both are forms of microsurgery. And if you see the list of tools that I have, you would believe it. Also, when I see my cakes being transformed into, they become alive when they are 3D. It shows, it should, for me, it should look as much as nice as it tastes. So the aesthetic sense that involves with, I think, both surgery and baking is there. Well, like all fields of surgery and medicine, complications are there, and they are a reality, and baking world is no different. If you see the first image here, this is actually a cricket themed cake. I'm sure many of you have seen it on the Facebook page, where it was all nice and bright. What I did was I packed Shane 1 in a cake box and was very heroically attempting to post it to another city. But I think all the spinning that was done to inside the box resulted in this havoc by the time it reaches destination. The second cake here, I'm not sure if we're able to really get the blooper here, but This was done for a girl who on her 16th birthday. And what I did was once I had delivered the cake, I realized that I had missed the H in birthday. And this was, well, adding insult to injury, this was for a girl who was absolutely obsessed with grammar. And she was the one who was correcting everybody for the grammatical mistakes at home. So I was absolutely gutted doing that. And the third one is well, we've known the Titanic sinking, but here it is, Hermione sinking down into the cake. This was after it traveled to its destination where the birthday venue was. You know, through your mistakes, you learn. There's a learning curve to everything, and so is in baking. And I realized that doing it with fondant was a bad idea, and doing with sugar paste would have probably lightened the figurine, and that would have solved the problem. So moving on, when there are complications, there are rewards as well. And through your learning curve, you realize that eventually what you receive as a reward is far more overwhelming. And I think the biggest achievement so far is my appearance on national TV, which was a great accomplishment. Having set up my page just last year, and people often ask me how I made it. Because of my Instagram page, the TV caster for Extra Slice, she approached me and she asked me if I would like to be one of the audience bakers. So I don't know if many of you have watched this program, but it works on a basis of the Great British Bake Off. So it's like a sequel, and people are asked to bring in their home-baked bakes. And out of those 12 to 15 participants, they declare one person as the star baker. When I was thinking of the theme, because it was an open forum, I could have baked anything. So I was juggling between British and something traditional. And so I thought that maybe it's high time that we project that positive image about Pakistan. And so I wanted to do and follow my Pakistani vibes. And I have this truck actually at home, which is a truck at home that has the truck art patterns on it. So I decided to replicate that, and people were in awe at the event. So it was really, really successful, and really made every thing count towards the end. Other than this, the other rewards are the compliments that we receive, because whenever I have delivered a certain cake, I often get to hear this, that, oh, it's too nice to eat, or how do you have the courage to cut it? So it's when that happens that actually makes it all worthwhile. And you know, when you're a cake decorator, when you've built up a beautiful cake, and you realize that all that craziness is worthwhile. So if you have those genes or those germs in, so let's get second bake. So for first timers who want to start baking as a hobby, let's say, I think that, as I mentioned earlier, investing in good utensils and pans and mixers is important to get good results. I'm happy to help any of the other halves who are interested in getting to know what brands to buy. I think because after years of experience, I can recommend some good ones. So baking starts with the cake, and then comes the cake assembly, which is critical because you need to, if you're doing a naked cake which has no covering of fondant outside, then you need to have the spatulas, you need to have the turntable to make a smooth icing, and then you need to have your rolling pins and your smoothers. So that does the trick of making sure the base of the cake is nice enough and presentable enough. And then comes the last one, which is the decorative bit. This is the most cumbersome and time-consuming one. These are my pink tools that I use for crafting out those little details on my figurines. And then obviously the icing nozzles and pipes. And as I said, the more the merrier. I have quite a few of these in different designs, but you can have a starter pack and do just as great. And just to give you an idea, cakes is not just about cakes, bakery items can include cookies and biscuits. By the way, does anyone have any idea what's the difference between cookies and biscuits? Maybe we can ask towards the end that question, and whoever answers correctly, no Googling here. If they answer correctly, they would earn a pack of 6 cookies, and I can present to them on the reunion day. So you can go ahead and bake different things like cupcakes, which are smaller cakes, basically, tartlets, loaves and breads. That's a different world altogether. But there's more than just cakes. But talking about cakes, that's what I specialize in. And I generally do bespoke cakes. And that means customized cakes or tailor-made cakes, which suit to your likes. And they are made specially for that particular occasion. Let's say a wedding cake where the bride wants white flowers all around, or certain themes to it. So they are made specifically for you, and therefore they are called bespoke cakes. So they can be naked cakes with a drip effect, as in this picture here, you can see. They were quite in recently, and then fondant cakes, which are perfect for themed cakes, which I love doing. And recently, fourth line cakes were also quite popular. The fourth line is like a defect on the outside of the cake, and it gives you that effect of fourth line within the cake itself. I haven't done this, or haven't included any picture here. And number cakes is the most recent Instagram trend that lots of people are doing and attempting, and that's my next stake. And probably there would be a surprise on the regarding the reunion cake that I'm gonna do. When people see the cakes, they think I've probably started off really nice, but it's not like that. The earliest bakes were very simple bakes. As you can see, this is about 5 years ago. I've just rolled out hand-rolled icing, and it's on the cake, and I've used just an ordinary ribbon to go with it to decorate it. But it was the second cake here, the baby shower cake, that actually got so much praise. I was bound to think, oh my God, probably it's some hidden superpower that I had, and that's actually come out. And then that is how I started to get better. What I specialize are the themed cakes. I do it for birthdays, for special occasions like Eid. This is the Eid cake I did for school. And then this graduation cake where one of my friends who graduated as a solicitor, she wanted a cake for her ceremony, so I did that. And then Father's Day cake, Halloween, or any other special occasion. Baking for birthdays is obviously always the case. Mummy has to do it. So this was Isa's 9th birthday, and she desired for a sewing machine, and I bought her a pink sewing machine, so I decided to go for a pink sewing machine on top of her cake, and she was absolutely thrilled. Then another occasion was, sometimes cakes can be inspirational as well. So when I did this cake in 2018, Zubair was 39, and he wanted to do the marathon, so I thought he would do the London Marathon. Eventually, last year, he did his Manchester Marathon, first marathon, and so that was another way of, getting to celebrate special occasions through cakes. And then I've been baking for birthdays. This, by the way, is the cake, the cricket cake that got damaged during post. Coming on to my favorite bakes, of course, the truck art cake that I did is an all-time favorite. I did enjoy it, especially because of the fame that was associated with it. When I walk to school now, it's totally different thing altogether. People look back and they ask me on tips and those things. So that really got me going. And other than that, the Oxford Dome is again an all-time favorite, which many of you like as well. The KFC cake was made for my niece on her 15th birthday. And what I really like about this cake is the realism in it, because I really enjoyed reading one of the comments on Facebook. One of my friends thought that I had placed real drumsticks on the cake, so that was really hilarious. But the cake which is really close to my heart is the first one, which is the cake I baked for the conjoined twins when they were separated successfully. And so that is something very close to my heart. Having said all that, it gives me great pleasure to to see that I have somebody who's always helping me out with my cakes and bakes, and that's sometimes Eliza, my elder one, or mostly Isa, who's more into baking. She would sit with me for hours and hours, and if I'm doing a big cake, she would do her small little bit. So this is one that she did for our neighbor on her birthday, and she's got this big teddy tiger. So she made a replica of that on the cake. And then recently she participated in the school cook-off, and she was 4th place. So, so I definitely have an heir to my cake throne. I'm looking forward to baking for the 2020 reunion cake. And one of the things that are there on my wish list, which can't be fulfilled at this point in time for some logistic reasons, but I do want to participate in the Great British Bake Off. Maybe you would see me one day, maybe not, who knows. And then the last one is to have a cakery of my own, so that people can come over and enjoy a nice cup of tea and some nice home baked cakes made with love. This is my logo. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's all in the name. You know me and my little cakery. It is little at the moment, but I do plan to take it to the next level. Thank you very much. And I hope the presentation makes you happy. Any questions?
Excellent presentation. I'm sure people have questions.
Yeah.
Any questions for Farheen?
Hello.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. Farheen, first of all, mashallah, 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 Allah Ta'ala has blessed you. You've been such an absolute talent. I mean, yes, you know, we all are academics and everything, but it makes me so proud to see what you're doing. It's absolutely awesome. So much doing. May Allah give you lots of success. And if Kashif is listening as well, mashallah, nice to hear what you guys are doing there as well, and you've achieved a lot. All I'd like to say is just, you know, well done to both of you.
True, absolutely.
Question?
Yes, for example,
So that we had a question.
I just wanted to say it is very impressive what you're doing. I'm absolutely amazed. And what you said, you have hand-eye coordination.
Sorry, I can't.
Back to the days. Can you hear me?
Sorry, it was a bit mumbled. Can you repeat, please?
I'm saying it is very impressive. Jojo Bate, you know, whatever you've said, it just reminds me of the days when I was learning how to operate, and people used to say you need to have a good hand-eye coordination to be stable. So it just took me back to years and years ago when I was trying to learn how to operate. It is very impressive. I just wanted to ask, do you really have cold hands? Because that's what I get to hear from people. You know, if you've got cold hands, you should be very good at baking, which actually I'm not.
I don't know. Cold hands. Not really. I don't. I'll have to search it up to actually see a connection there.
No, it is very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kashif. It's been an absolute pleasure to have both of you today. I mean, quite varied, but to be honest, actually, it shows the passion that both of you have for your art and craft. And yes, would love to kind of actually have your cake one day, Farheen, soon. And Kashif, I hope I never use your services, but yes, inshallah, if there's any problems, then we can definitely refer you to one of the best in Karachi. I'm sure that's what people say about you. So all the very best. And yeah, any more questions, or shall we just call it a day, guys?
Hi.
No, I think no more questions.
Hi.
I
Someone
just wanted
wants
to ask Farheen.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to learn baking, do you have to have a passion and interest for it, or can you just learn it, and how long does it take?
I've already answered that question in a way, but the thing is, baking can be for anybody, seriously. I mean, I'm sure everybody can make tea and toast a bread, so why not baking? It's just that you have to follow a certain sequence. And generally, if you follow the recipe, you do end up doing all right. It might not look as great initially as it did for me, but I think eventually you'll be there. is just, if there is passion, it just adds on to it, more and more starry effect to it. But general bakes like cookies or biscuits or just making simple cupcakes, I would say, that's not very difficult, fairly easy.
And yes, $1 million question, cookies or biscuits? I thought cookies.
Oh yeah, what about it? Is Mansoor ready to answer?
No. I don't actually know the difference. I just probably asked someone else to answer that question. But I thought cookies, Americans use cookies, and biscuits are usually kind of savored or could be sweet. And English people use the term for biscuits, but I could be wrong. So you teach us, enlighten us.
I hope you did not Google that up.
No, honestly, no, I didn't.
Or anyone else answering that question? That's one of the very minute differences that you said, but there is more to it.
Okay, so I wouldn't qualify for the free cookies then.
Let's see, if there is no other answer, then you might be the only lucky one.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think, yeah, I might be absolutely wrong, you know, going off on a tangent here. But our cookies, biscuits are probably smaller, is it? And cookies are like these big dough cookies and things, because people just call biscuits cookies here as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like a lot of people just call biscuits cookies as well.
They've got lots of stuff on it, and they're like thick and bigger, and biscuits are like, I agree with Tahira. I might be completely wrong, but I think cookies are they have a lot more content in them as compared to...
See, I don't like biscuits. I only like cookies and like American chunky cookies. And I think they are flat. They're like flat bread, whereas biscuits have got a texture in it. And biscuits are actually could be sweet or sour. So
I think I have won. I have won the 6 biscuits. Or
no, I think I have won the 6.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying this actually. So anyone else? Because you're still missing on the main difference.
Is it to do with the ingredients?
Yes, partially you could say, but yeah, there's a little bit more to it.
Is it flour?
Butter.
I'm not asking you to name me the contents inside. That would be hard too much, but
is it bread or something? I can't know.
No.
Sorry, 3 तो मिल ली है भाई. अब 3 मेरी होंगी और 1 Naseem, 1 Mansoor.
Okay, the main difference well, the first difference that Mansoor mentioned is that Americans do call biscuits cookies as well sometimes. That's there. But the main difference is how the texture is, because the cookies have a very doughy texture and they break easily. But biscuits are more snappy. So if you snap, you're able to snap a biscuit. That's the crunchiness. They can be all shapes and sizes. So biscuits are generally, they can either be plain biscuits or they can be iced. It's difficult to ice cookies, but they can come in all flavors. Like you must have tasted Ben's cookies, which are really popular in UK. They have different flavors to it, like chocolate chips and oatmeal and carrot and all those kinds. So yes, it's more in the texture that the difference lies.
All right, okay. Thank you very much.
डुबो के बिस्किट खाने का जो मजा है वो कुकी का नहीं.
डंप करने के लिए आपको बिस्किट चाहिए.
सही. और टी में आप कुकी भी डाल सकते हैं क्या?
आपके अपनी मर्जी है.
अच्छा, किसी में डालो. चलो सही है. ओके, थैंक यू.
दोनों में खराब हो जानी है, सो इसलिए खा लें.
ये केक रस किसमें आता है?
केक रस जो है ना वो बिस्किट है, लेकिन वो जैसे वो नाम बता रहे केक एंड रस्क, somewhere a fusion between cake and a rusk. So because it has a snap to it, unless के बहुत पुराना स्टेल हो जाए तो फिर वो कुकी बन जाएगा.
केक रस के लिए चाय काफी ज्यादा चाहिए होती है, आधी तो वही पी जाता है.
ओह, पाकिस्तान याद आ गया.
It's an absolute favorite at ours, cake rusk.
Thank you very much, guys. It was one of the most entertaining CPD, actually. Thank you very much. The certificate should be coming your way soon.
Inshallah. Okay.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
you very much, all speakers, Kashif and Fareen. And inshallah, see you all next month.
Okay, Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you very much.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you.